Hey guys, Frosty and I is here back with another EU book review. And today we are going to be taking a look at Karen Travis's novelization of the animated movie special, The Clone Wars. Now this book came out in 2008 and it clocks in at 256 pages. This is my copy that I purchased from Thrift Books. It came very nice, although it did not come with a dust jacket. So I got a boring hardcover. When you purchase a book from Thrift Books, you're guaranteed to get a book, but you're not guaranteed to get a dust jacket for the book. And that's just fine. It was still a good purchase, and it was still a good read. So I just want to say off the top of the bat that out of all of the Clone Wars books that we've read so far, this is the first novel that I've given a 5-star rating to in the Clone Wars section of the books. It was that good. I really did enjoy reading this book, and it sort of pulled me out of the doldrums of the Clone Wars that I was in. I really enjoyed it. It was really well written, so let's talk about the book. So what is it about? The crux of the book is that Jabba the Hutt has a son named Rada the Hutt. Now, just a little quickie aside, Hutts are hermaphroditic. And so they pretty much give birth to their own offspring. They're like a one-Hutt machine that births their own children without the need to have other Hutts involved. So that's what Jabba did. Jabba had a child named Rada. And so we discover that both the Republic and the Separatists, they want the same thing in this book. And what they want is they want access to the hyperspace routes in the Outer Rim. Now, the Republic doesn't govern the Outer Rim. The Outer Rim is fairly lawless, and it is governed by empires and emperors and warlords and titans. There's a lot of infighting, a lot of bloodshed. It's a lawless area of space. It's where Tatooine is. It's where Nal Hutta is. It's where Nar Shaddaa is. It's where Geonosis is. And the biggest group the biggest species, the biggest group in the Outer Rim are the Hutts. So if you want access to the hyperspace routes and you want to do business in the Outer Rim, you have to go through the Hutts. And that's what Dooku decides to do. He hatches this plan where he convinces Zero the Hutt, who is Jabba's uncle, to kidnap Rada and then deliver the Huttlet to the Separatists. And then the Separatists will stage a rescue and they'll bring the Huttlet back to Jabba and present, here, we've got your kidnapped son, and that will curry Jabba's favor, and they'll have access to the hyperspace routes. Except that Jabba does the one thing that Dooku doesn't expect them to do. Jabba reaches out to the Republic and to the Jedi for help. Jabba calls the Republic and says, I need assistance in finding my kidnapped son. So the Republic and Palpatine and the Jedi Council, realizing that if the Jedi can go out and rescue the Huttlet and bring to justice the people who kidnapped him and bring him back to Jabba, then the Republic can get access to the hyperspace routes and everybody will be happy. And so now we have a story. So the Jedi Council sends Anakin to do this message. So he sends Anakin to rescue the child, along with a contingent of clone troopers from the 501st Legion, Torrent Company, and Captain Rex and Commander Cody go with him. He's got a battle fleet that goes with him. And also going with him is Anakin Skywalker's brand new Padawan, Ahsoka. This is where we first meet Ahsoka Tano. Since Anakin is now a newly minted Jedi Knight and no longer under the tutelage of Obi-Wan, it's time for him to have his own Padawan. And so we have Anakin and Ahsoka, or as they like to call each other, Snips and Sky Guy. That's the nickname for each other. So they go. And they find out that the Hutt is being held hostage on a planet called Teth. And so they all go to Teth to try to battle through the Separatists and rescue the Huttlet. And that is the bulk of the story. It is a very well-crafted story. In addition to all of that, towards the end, we get some really cool things that happen. We get a lightsaber duel between Asajj Ventress and Obi-Wan Kenobi, which is really well written. We got a lightsaber duel between Count Dooku and Anakin on Tatooine. Lightsaber duel part 2. We get to see Asajj Ventress again because she's the sort of, she's Dooku's personal assistant / assassin. So she's overseeing what's going on Teth. And it was a really well done story. And of course, we get to see Ahsoka and Anakin. That's the bulk of the story as they deal with the problem at hand, as they deal with each other, as they figure out the rules and their roles now, and as they figure out how they fit in this mission and in this war and in this military situation. So it was a really well done story. The battles were well executed. The space battles were well executed. The story went along at a good clip. It was easy to read. It was well written. I liked, of course, always like to read about Asajj Ventress again. Get to hear a little bit more about her backstory and why she is super pissed at the Jedi. And kind of for good reason of why she's super pissed at the Jedi and why she kind of wants their heads on pikes. And we get to see a lot of Anakin, and we get to see a lot of Ahsoka, and I like that. I like getting in Anakin's head, and there's a lot of things that Anakin and Ahsoka are wrestling with in this novel. Anakin doesn't feel like he wants to be wants to teach a Padawan. He doesn't want a Padawan to begin with. He doesn't want to train anybody. He just wants to go out and kick some separatist behind, and that's all he really wants to do. But then he remembers when he was little, and how nobody really wanted him, right? Obi-Wan didn't really want to train him, and he only trained him because it was a favor to Qui-Gon. It was Qui-Gon's dying wish, and the Jedi Council didn't want Anakin, and nobody really wanted Anakin. So Anakin knows what it feels like to be rejected, to not be wanted, to be a reluctant Padawan to these people. And he doesn't want Ahsoka to feel that way. And so reluctantly, he begins to accept her and train her. And of course, towards the end, they've worked out how they can work with each other. And Anakin is also upset, again, probably rightfully so, that he, out of all the people that they could have sent on this mission, they sent him. Anakin hates the Hutts. He doesn't like them, and with good reason. He was owned by a Hutt. Him and his mom were owned by Gardula the Hutt when they were on Tatooine. So he has no love for the Hutts. He hates the Hutts. They're slavers. He hates being reminded of what they did to him and his mom. He hates being reminded of being a slave. He hates being reminded of his time on Tatooine. He doesn't feel that they're worth saving. He doesn't know why he has to do it. So he is wrestling with that as well, with his inner demons. Of course, and Ahsoka is asking him, why do you hate Tatooine? Why do you hate the Hutts? And he doesn't tell her about his past and that he was a slave. But he really wrestles with that. And like, why me? And why do we even have to bother saving these people? Can't we find another way to get access to the hyperspace route? So it's a real sort of moral dilemma that he finds himself in. And he wrestles with that through all of the book. And of course, he's still wrestling with all the stuff that he's been wrestling with in all the previous books, which is death of his mom and what he did to the Tuskens and the murders and all of that stuff. And how can he be a good teacher if he has done these awful things? And, Ahsoka is also now learning what it means to be a Padawan and what it means to be part of a company of troopers and what it means to be a general and what it means to lead troops into battle and what it means to be thrust into this war that you didn't want to be part of, but here you are, and now you're part of this war. And how do I work with clone troopers, and how do I work with Anakin, and how do I work with all these other people, and what can I possibly learn? And, she thinks, of course, she knows everything, and of course she finds out that she doesn't know everything, and there are still things to learn. things to learn about the clones and Anakin and about herself and her place. And so that whole arc was really, really well done. And I really enjoyed, that was one of the reasons I wanted to read the book, was because I have never seen Ahsoka's backstory. I've never seen Ahsoka as a character. I never watched the show. I never watched the Clone Wars. I never watched Rebels. I should, but I never did. So I got to miss that whole section. I missed that whole section of Star Wars. And so that's why I wanted to read this, to see what I missed. And I was really happy that I did. I've been told that Karen Traviss, or I've read that Karen Traviss was really sort of, she didn't stray too far with the plot for this book. There's nothing extra in this book than you would have seen from the movie. So if you've watched the Clone Wars movie, and then you read the book, apparently it is a blow-by-blow, scene-by-scene, almost word-for-word retelling of the story. There's nothing new, nothing added. Maybe some thoughts about Anakin as he thinks about his life in Ahsoka, but there's really nothing extra in the book. So if you watch the movie, I guess you're getting the same thing with the book. But if you've never watched the movie, like I haven't, and you read the book, it's all, of course, it's all brand new. So it's one of the things I read about that. So having never watched the movie, I was really glad that I read the book. And the other thing that I have read is that people found, in the beginning at least, people found Ahsoka to be really annoying. Again, I didn't watch the show, so if there's any level of annoyance with the character of Ahsoka or of Anakin, that's in my own head, right? I can read them as annoying or as less annoying as I want. And that's how I deal with Anakin. When I read Anakin stories, I know how he's portrayed in the movies. I just don't read him whiny and annoying. I try to read him a little more grounded and nuanced and tortured. So that's why it's easier for me to read things like Anakin and Jar Jar and things that people find annoying, because I can either gloss over it or I can make them less annoying in my head, if that makes sense. So I don't have that annoyance factor. So I didn't find her character to be annoying at all. I found her character to actually be very interesting, and I'm glad to find that we're going to read more about Ahsoka. At least in the next 4 books coming down, there's going to be more Anakin and more Ahsoka as we get down a little bit further into the Clone Wars. So guys, that's my review of Karen Traviss's The Clone Wars, the first 5-star Clone Wars novel. It may be the last. I don't know what's coming for the back half of the Clone Wars, but I was glad that I got something to read, something that was good, that made me feel like I'm finally reading the Star Wars story again. So guys, did you read the Clone Wars, and did you watch the show, and did you like it? Did you not like it? What is your thoughts on the Clone Wars show and on Ahsoka and on everything that was shown on TV and Rebels and whatnot? Put it down in the comments below and let me know. The next book that we're going to be reading, next Clone Wars book that we're going to be reading, is going to be Clone Wars Wild Space by Karen Miller. This is going to be the first of 4 weirdly shaped, oversized trade paperback Clone Wars novels. There's 4 of these size books, and so it's going to be a little weird, but that's the next book that we're going to be reading. So guys, there is my review of the Clone Wars novel. Tell me what you thought of it. Tell me if you liked it or you didn't like it. Let me know down in the comments below. And as always, give it a like, give it a thumbs up, give it a share. Tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell people who find Ahsoka to be annoying. And until next time, I will see you in the next video.